This is an ad by Regain Couples Therapy. Let's be honest. Loving your partner doesn't mean you always like them, and guess what? That's normal. Regain, powered by BetterHelp, offers couples therapy that's flexible, affordable, and 100% online. Whether you're reconnecting or working through conflict, Regain is here to support you both. See why people wish they'd tried couples therapy sooner. Visit regain.com/couplespod to get 10% off your first month. That's regain.com/couplespod.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Welcome to the Covert Narcissism Podcast. I'm your host, Renee Swanson. I am not a therapist, and you are not a victim. Have you ever begged for someone to understand you and walked away feeling more alone than ever? Have you ever sat in front of someone, cracked open your soul, and felt their eyes glaze over, like you could see it happening, like you were speaking in a language that they didn't understand? Have you ever sat across from someone you love, poured out your heart, and felt nothing? No comfort, no concern, no connection, just a blank stare or a shift in conversation that made you feel like your pain was an inconvenience? You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're not imagining this. You were likely experiencing life with someone who lacks true empathy. And this is what it feels like when empathy is missing. In relationships with covert narcissists, that feeling is everywhere. Where you would normally find connection, you find a gaping hole. Welcome back to the Covert Narcissism Podcast, the place where we bring clarity to the confusion and voice the invisible wounds of covert narcissistic abuse. Today, we are unpacking something that is really hard to explain, but deeply felt: the absence of empathy. Empathy is one of those words that we all kind of get. You know, we nod along when someone uses it, but when someone asks you to define it, to really describe it, it suddenly feels harder than we thought. What really is empathy? Is it kindness? Is it compassion? Not quite. Compassion says, I want to help. Empathy says, I feel this with you. It's the emotional bridge between people, the experience of being felt from the heart. And when that bridge is missing, especially in an intimate relationship, it's not just disappointing, it's devastating. It's destructive. We know empathy when we feel it. We know when someone lacks it because we feel that. When someone doesn't have it, truly doesn't have empathy, it shakes you to your core. Because without it, there's just this emotional hole. There's no emotional safety, no repair, no sense that you matter, no feeling of being seen or heard or cared for. And we're going to talk about what empathy actually is, how covert narcissists mimic it without feeling it, and how this chronic emotional starvation erodes your sense of worth over time. Now, what is empathy really? Empathy is often defined as the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Okay, but that doesn't quite do it justice. See, words do get a little tough here when you're talking about empathy. Empathy isn't just about understanding someone's pain intellectually. In fact, narcissistic people can do this. They actually sometimes can do it quite well. They can understand things intellectually. Narcissistic people especially covert narcissists, are often very good at intellectually understanding emotions. They can put the words to it. They can analyze, mimic, and even talk about emotional experiences with, impressive insight. You can think, hey, they really get it, but they do it from the outside, not from the inside. It's cognitive, not emotional. So here's a few real world examples of this intellectual empathy or cognitive empathy. Number one is the therapist language trap. A covert narcissist who just ditched you for dinner might say something like, I know you're feeling abandoned right now. Okay, they just heard your feelings. I know you're feeling abandoned right now. That's your attachment wound being activated. It's not really about me, it's about your past. Well, this can sound self aware and it can even sound helpful. But underneath, there's no real emotional attunement, no sense of, I care that you're hurting. And did you catch that passing of the blame? Your feelings aren't because of the way they just treated you, right? It's about your past. So you walk away believing that they heard you, that they get you, but you don't walk away feeling it. This approach is actually a distancing tactic, analyzing your pain instead of connecting with it. It sounds smart, but it shuts down your feelings instead of holding space for them. Number two is the performative apology. They might say, I understand that my words hurt you, and I can see how that would make you feel disrespected. But then they justify or excuse their behavior. Then they say the same hurtful thing again tomorrow. They seem bored or detached while apologizing. They use the apology to end the conversation, not to repair the rupture. This is textbook cognitive empathy. They know what they're supposed to say, and they say it on the outside, but it doesn't have the depth of what needs to be underneath it on the inside. There's no felt accountability, no genuine connection, no emotional engagement, and no change. Number three is the sympathy spotlight. They might show empathy, cognitive empathy, a show of empathy, performative empathy for other people's pain, especially in public or anytime that it can make them look good. Maybe they cry watching a sad movie. Maybe they talk at length about how tragic someone else's, misfortune is. They seem deeply moved by some story on the news. But when you are crying over something real and vulnerable in your life, they yawn or they roll their eyes, they walk away or they get annoyed, they turn it into how they are affected. Your tears are a real inconvenience to them and their life. This tells you that they understand the concept of emotion, but they lack the emotional availability or safety to be there with you and your pain. Number four is the empathy as a weapon move. They might say something like, I know I've hurt you. I hate myself for it. I'm such a terrible person. Well, this can sound like remorse. You might think that, okay, they get it and this is a genuine apology. But here's what happens: you quickly find yourself comforting them. They have turned your pain into a stage for their self image battle. This is not empathy. It's manipulation wrapped up in emotional language. You see, the goal's not connection and sitting here and listening and to your feelings and giving space for your feelings. No, it's a tactic to take the blame off of the actual thing they did and push your empathy buttons. You're the one with the empathy. Now you're the one pouring your energy into them to help them feel better about themselves. Number five is the let me teach you about your feelings pattern. They say things like, I get that you're overwhelmed, but you need to learn how to regulate your emotions. It might even come out with a calm voice and good vocabulary. They might give you tools and strategies to help your world. But again, it's not attuned to your actual experience. It's dismissive. Instead of sitting with you and acknowledging that you're overwhelmed, they're focused on how to make you better. This is packaged as guidance with their great wisdom and their great insight. They're analyzing you, not feeling with you. Cognitive empathy may look like empathy. Sometimes it often does. It may smell like empathy, but it certainly doesn't feel like empathy. Check in with how it feels. I've described this before. You can know someone else's feelings in your mind, or you can know them in your heart. Covert narcissists, they know in their mind. They know intellectually what the feelings are. They don't know them in their heart. Empathy lies in the heart part of this. It's about feeling with someone. It's a felt sense of, I get it. I see you. Your pain matters to me, and I'm here with you. It's not about doing, it's about being. It can show up in silence, in just sitting with somebody, in eye contact, in a hand on their back, in a sentence that says, that must be so hard. Talk as long as you need. I'm here. Empathy is attunement. It's someone's heart leaning toward your heart. It's not about fixing you or even fixing the problem. It's about being with you. Now, if you've never experienced this type of empathy in a close relationship, it can feel almost imaginary. And if you've poured your heart out to someone who stares blankly at you or turns and walks away, you know exactly how painful this disconnect really is. Now, why do covert narcissists struggle with real empathy? Covert narcissists often present as sensitive, wounded. They can even present as being self aware. But here's the truth, they can talk about emotions without ever truly feeling yours. Why? Because real empathy requires vulnerability, something that narcissistic people do not have. Vulnerability, emotional presence, acknowledgement that someone else's inner world matters as much as their own. These things are threatening to a covert narcissist. Your feelings compete with their need to be the center of your world. Listen to that again. Your feelings compete with their need to be the center of your world. Your pain might imply that they've caused harm, and covert narcissists cannot tolerate that. They cannot tolerate the idea that they are the bad guy because they're either all good or all bad. And so if they have to acknowledge they did one thing bad, it makes them all bad, which blows up their internal world. So instead of leaning into your pain, they shut down, they deny, they deflect, they turn the moment back on you. They may respond with, "You're too sensitive. This is on you. I didn't do anything wrong. It's not my fault. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? You always have to ruin everything." Even when they say something that sounds empathetic, "I'm sorry that you feel that way." It's often hollow, lacking the emotional presence that real empathy brings. Now let's ground this into some day-to-day examples. Maybe you're crying in the kitchen after a tough day. A loving partner might say, "Hey, come here. I've got you. Tell me what happened." But a covert narcissist, they're going to turn and walk out the room, pretend not to see you, or sigh with annoyance and say, "This again? What now?" Here's another scenario. You try to express how hurt you were by a sarcastic comment that they made in front of others. A partner with empathy might respond, "Hey, I didn't realize that landed so hard. I'm really sorry." But a covert narcissist, they're going to tell you, "You're being dramatic. It was just a joke. Don't be so sensitive." Scenario number 3, you're grieving the loss of a family member, and an empathetic partner, they're going to check in with you, bring you dinner, sit with you quietly. They're going to make this about you. But a covert narcissist, they're going to make it all about themselves. They're going to make it about their discomfort. They're going to fake an illness, or they're going to talk about how bad of a day that they've had, or they're going to get irritated that you're not over it yet. This isn't just selfishness. It's emotional abandonment, and it creates deep, deep wounds. The lack of empathy is not always loud. It doesn't slam doors or scream in your face. It shows up in silence, in the moments when your pain is met with indifference and absence, and the eerie sense that this person who is closest to you doesn't actually feel you. And you start wondering, am I too emotional? Am I asking for too much? Maybe I just need to explain myself better? So you find yourself trying to earn empathy from someone who doesn't give it freely or even at all. Now, like I've said, covert narcissists can mimic empathy when it serves them, especially in public. They may appear thoughtful, concerned, they may volunteer, they may talk about emotional topics, and they may even seem gentle on the surface. But I want you to ask yourself, does their empathy extend to you when it really counts? Does their care stay consistent over time? Do you feel seen and heard? You see, real empathy nourishes. Performed empathy confuses and even depletes. And when you live without empathy long enough, here's what happens. You stop trusting your own feelings. You minimize your needs and your feelings. You start apologizing for being human. You second guess whether your emotions are valid or not. Here's the most heartbreaking part. You may actually find yourself mirroring their lack of empathy back toward yourself. You start telling yourself, it's not that bad. I need to get over it. My feelings are too much. They're a weakness for me. You see, I've said it before and I'll say it again. When we're dealing with covert narcissism, one of the biggest issues is that we join the abuser and we start abusing ourselves. You start treating yourself with that same lack of empathy. So you numb out, you go quiet, you go into survival mode, but you certainly don't feel safe or cared for. This isn't who you really are. This is what happens when your emotional world has been consistently met with silence or scorn and a lack of empathy. The healing begins when you stop begging for empathy from someone who will not give it, and you start instead surrounding yourself with people who do, including you. You can begin by validating your own feelings without needing anyone else's permission. You have nothing to defend because you feel the way you feel. Notice what empathy looks like in others. Who around you has it? See where it is. Your safe friends, your family members, your therapist, your coaches, your community. Practice that self-empathy. Tell yourself things like, hey, it makes sense that I'm hurting. I deserve gentleness. I deserve a safe space. If you've been walking through life without real empathy, let me tell you something that you have not heard enough. Your pain is real. You are not too much. Your feelings do matter. You deserve relationships where your feelings are not inconveniences, but instead sacred ground. Your healing matters. Empathy is not too much to ask for. It's the bare minimum of love. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. You have been listening to the Covert Narcissism Podcast, where we break apart the insidious nature of these incredibly destructive and frustrating to the ends of the earth individuals. If you are struggling with the isolation, overwhelming self-doubt, and obsessive ruminating, you are not alone. I offer live, personalized coaching that is specific for you. This coaching can be individual or group sessions, or a combination of the two. You can find all the information at covertnarcissism.com. Reach out anytime. My email address is Renee, Renee, at covertnarcissism.com. And remember, I am not a therapist and you are not a victim, but I am a coach and you are a survivor. The information provided by Renee Swanson, Covert Narcissism Podcast, and CNG Life Coaching is for educational purposes only and is not to be used for diagnosis purposes. It is not intended to be a substitute for clinical care. Please consult a health care provider for guidance specific to your case. This material discusses narcissism in general. Renee shares stories from her personal experience as well as from those she has talked with for several years. Her material does not claim that any specific person has narcissism and should not be used to refer to any specific person as having narcissism. Permission is not granted to link to or repost this material to support any allegation or claim that any specific person is a narcissist. That would be an unauthorized misuse of the material and information provided.